What I've got here is a series of videos that are going to trace out a number of array algorithms. I'm going to trace out min, max, average, and sum and print using this array. So let's print out this array. So the code to print it out is right here. And there's a for loop, and I starts at 0 and it goes to the length and it goes plus plus. So this will be our I variable. So it'll start at 0, it'll plus plus, and when it gets to the length, it will stop. The length of this array, just to remind you, is 6 because we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as our indices. It's going to be a pain always that we start at 0, so just remember that. Okay, so we'll start I off at 0. So then what we do is we go system.out.println egg, and I is 0, so that's here. So then we're going to print out a 4. Then we move I on. Then I is now 1, so now when we get to this print part, we're going to print out 1. So we'll print out the thing in the first spot. So then when we get here, we're going to print out the second one. So that will be 5. And then when we get here, we're going to print out the third one. So that will be an 8. And then we move I on. So then we're going to print out the fourth one. So that will be a 1. And then we're going to move I on, and it'll print out the fifth one. So that will be the 6. So these things will have been printed on the screen. Then we'll move I on, we'll be off the end of the array, so the loop will stop and we'll stop printing. All right, that's how you print out the array. The minimum code works like this. We're going to start off our minimum variable. We're going to start it off at the thing that's in the 0th spot. So that happens to be 8. Then what happens is we start going through our loop. So we're going to start our counter I and spot 0. And when I is in spot 0, we compare the two of them and we see if the one that's in the array is smaller than what's in the min. And they aren't, they're the same. So we're going to move I on to be 1. Then we compare them. We see if the thing that's in the array is smaller than what's in minimum. And that's true. So that means we're going to replace minimum with 2. Then we move I on. So now I is now 2. And now we compare what's in that spot, 6, with our minimum, and we see if it's smaller. Well, it's not, so we move along. Well, 4 is not smaller than 2, so we move I along. So now I is 4, we compare them. Oh, 1 is smaller, so now we're going to remember 1. Then we move along. We compare 5 with 1. Nope. So then, once we make it to the end of the array, comparing in this way, always if we find one that's smaller, replacing it. By the time we get to the end of the array, the thing that we have stored in min will be the smallest value in the array. So then we can print it out and we can say the min is 1. So let's find the sum of this array. So first of all, the code tells us to start off our sum variable at 0. There we go. So now we're going to go through the array, starting at 0, going up by 1. There's our standard for loop. So at each spot, we're going to take what we find. I found an 8 in spot 0, and I'm going to add it into sum. So 0 plus 8 is 8. Move on. Now I'm at 1. So I'm going to take what I find there, which is a 2, and I'm going to add it in. So 8 plus 2 is 10. Move I on. Then I'm going to take what I find in spot 2, which is a 6, and I'm going to add it to my sum. So 10 plus 6 is 16. Move I on. Take what I find in spot 3. 3 is that's got a 4. I'm going to add 16 plus 4, and I'm going to get 20. Move I on. Take what I find in spot 4, which is a 1, add it on. 20 plus 1 is 21. Move I on. Take what I find, which is a 5. 21 plus 5 is 26. So now I've got to the end of the array. I've moved my I all the way down. So now I'm going to go system.out.println. The sum is 26. So let's find the maximum value in this array. So what's going to happen is we're going to start off the value max, the variable max, at whatever value is in the 0th position. So in this case, it's 4. And that's this line here. Then we're going to have a for loop that goes through the array. And that's going to take our variable I and move it all the way through the array. So We'll start off by putting I at 0, and then we compare the two of them. And we say, is the thing that's in the array bigger than what we have stored? No, they're the same. So then we move I on. Is the thing in the array in spot 1 bigger than the thing we have stored? No, 2 is smaller. Is the thing in the array bigger than what we have stored? Yes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to replace what we have stored. Then we'll move I on. Then we compare them. Is the thing that's stored in the array bigger than the max? Yes. So then we're going to replace it. This is the line where the replacing happens here. Here's the comparing. The thing in the array is bigger than the maximum. Then we replace max. All right, so let me carry on. Is that bigger than what we've got here? So is 1 bigger than 8? Nope. Is 6 bigger than 8? Nope. So then we've made it to the end of the array, so this code finishes, and then we go outside the array, and we go outside the loop, sorry, and we print the max is 8. And that's how you find the maximum. Finding the average is sort of neat because it's exactly the sum, plus you add just a little bit of code where you find the average. So let's trace it. So we're going to start sum off at 0, and that's this line here. Then in this line here, what's happening is we're looping through the array. So that means this little variable I is going to progress through the array until it gets to the length. And that's what's happening in that loop. And then on each line, we're going to take what's in the array and add it into sum. All right, so I've got 4 in this spot, so I'm going to add it into sum. I've got 2 in that spot, so I'm going to add it into sum. I've got 5 in that spot, so I'm going to add it into my sum. And 8, so I'm going to add it into sum. And 1, so I'll add it in. And 6, so I'll add it in. At that point, I will have finished looping through the array, and my sum will have the total of what's in the array. So it's going to print out the sum is 26. Then we're going to do a little calculation where we take 26 and divide it by the length. The length of this array is 6, because there's 6 things. So then we're going to take 26 divided by 6, and that's what it'll go in average. So inside average, we're going to have 4.3. So then the code prints out the average is 4.3. And that's how average works.